Yes, students, we are talking about laws of motion in continuation. In the previous class, we have discussed with you about the force, Newton's first law of motion as well as second law of motion. So, in continuation, we will be discussing with you Newton's third law of motion. Of course, statement, first of all, you should be knowing. For that, you need to have that understanding that I'm talking about a system consisting of two bodies with me. It means I'm having two bodies, interacting bodies are there, and we are supposing that let the size of the first object is equal to the size of the second object, and then when you are bringing them in contact, like you are bringing two balls in contact with each other, and you are just applying force on one ball due to the another will be equals to the force on the first due to the second. It means force on one body due to second body is to be equal to the force on the second body due to the first body, but the directions are opposite, so we call it as action and reaction pairs. One is we are, or you can understand this thing, when you throw the ball on the wall, when you are throwing the ball on the wall, what happens? Ball is coming back. It means you are applying the force on the wall, due to ball it is getting exerted, and as a result ball is also exerting the force in the backward direction on the ball, and due to which the ball comes back to you. So it means what is happening to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. If you want to state it, you can state that according to Newton's third law of motion, to every action there is equal and opposite reaction, and that you can experience in your day-to-day life also. Like we have discussed that when we need to walk, we have to press the ground in the backward direction, and then we are able to move in the forward direction. So this is your day-to-day observation also, so you people can keep this thing in your mind. Third law statement, which states that there is equal, always to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. So because force is a vector quantity, so you can write it as FAB, it is equals to negative of FBA. But you should remember this, that they are not acting on the same body. Like when I threw the ball on the wall, then one force is exerted on the wall and the second force is exerted on the ball. So both are not acting on the same body. So they are acting on different bodies. So they are not cancelling each other. That can be asked as a question, that when in the action and reaction they are equal and opposite, why they don't cancel each other? Because they are not acting on the same body, they are acting on the different body. This you have to keep it in your mind. But of course the magnitudes, if you take the masses same, then the magnitudes will be equal and direction will be opposite. That you should keep it in your mind. Of course we are using it in our day-to-day life, like for walking. As I have said, when you press the ground in the backward direction, you are able to move in the forward direction. Similarly, while swimming also, you push the water in the backward direction with your hands, and as a result you are able to move in the forward direction. And of course in walking, if you see, we have already discussed that this is the horizontal component of the force which makes you to move in the forward direction, while vertical component balances the weight of the body. So you should be able to answer in terms of the vector form also. Similarly, when you are keeping a book on the table, then what is happening? The book is exerting the force in the downward direction and reaction force is coming in the upward direction. So both are equal, and that is why the book at rest remains at rest. Similarly, if you talk about the lawn sprinkler, then it is made to rotate, and as a result, because water is coming out from the holes, and as a result of that it is able to rotate. So both action and reaction are there. So means you can say that a single force cannot exist. So always a force will exist in pairs. That you need to keep it in your mind, and of course these can be the questions can be framed on these uses which are there for your day-to-day life using Newton's third law of motion. you should be able to explain all these things. Of course, the important one which is to be added, because walking of man we have already discussed while discussing the vectors, so I have not taken in much detail at this minute. Horse cart problem, if we want to take in detail, we have to take, because we have not discussed it earlier, and it is very much mentioned especially in your syllabus. So you should be knowing it, that if this is the arrangement of the horse cart with you, then you can see that it is similar to walking of a man. When the horse is pushing the ground in the backward direction, this is action, and as a result it is getting the reaction force, and the horizontal component of the reaction force makes the force to move in the forward direction, while vertical component of this force is balancing the weight of the horse. And because it is tied with the help, this cart is tied with the help of a thread here, means a string, I mean, of course it has to be a rope having the sufficient strength, and then the tension force is produced in this rope, and tension force which is there on the horse due to cart is same as the tension on the cart due to horse, equal and opposite, acting along the same line. This can be shown like this, and the weight of the cart is balanced by the reaction force initially when the system is at rest, when this cart is at rest. But when you want to make it move in the forward direction, this horizontal component makes the system to move in the forward direction, similar to walking. But here, if we suppose that there is some friction force also, which of course we will be talking in detail in the coming lectures, what is friction force. You should keep this thing in mind for this topic, that it is simply the opposing force which comes into play whenever there is some motion, I can say the relative motion between the two bodies in contact. So whenever cart is trying to move, the friction force is coming into play by itself. So what should be the acceleration with which this system will move? If you are asked with, you should be able to this mathematics. That is, if this is the horizontal component of the reaction force, and if this horse has to move with the acceleration a, I say, and small m is the mass, if I suppose, then I can say h minus t should be equals to ma. This is by free body diagram. You should be able to understand that if horse is moving in this direction, then this horizontal component has to be greater than the tension force. And tension force, how much amount? These both are forces, so the equation has to be dimensionally correct also. So here also I have to write the formula for the force. If I suppose a is the acceleration, small m is the mass, then the resultant value will be equals to ma, which will be given by h minus t. And for cart, if you want to make the equation by considering the free body diagram, it means one body we are considering at one time, then tension force is acting in this direction and frictional force is coming in the opposite direction. But if the system is moving in the right direction, it means t has to be greater than f. So then t minus f, it is equals to capital M into A. But as we have discussed, these tension forces, they are equal and opposite by using third law. Then I can add equation 1 and 2. So this tension force will get cancelled. So capital M is the mass of the cart. So the acceleration, if I am saying A, then resultant force acting in this right direction will be given by M into A, capital M into A. Now, if you are adding 1 and 2 equations, then you are getting h minus f, it is equals to m plus m into a. Or you can simply write the formula for the acceleration produced. Of course, here when I am writing h or d, we are simply talking about the magnitudes that you need to understand. And of course, I am supposing f as the applied force and r as the reaction force here. For this much, when you need to draw the diagram, of course you are not going to draw the horse or the man, or the you will simply make the free body diagram showing the direction of the forces, and this simple diagram will work. but the forces should be shown properly. And basically you need to understand the free body diagram. Whenever we want to write the equation for a given body, we have to see in which direction the resultant acceleration is there, or the body is accelerating. So h has to be greater than t for this. If I write the equation for force, and here if I want to write the equation for cart, then t has to be greater than small f. This then you should be able to write the equation should be always dimensionally correct. That should be kept in your mind, and then only you will be able to work out with the things. I think this is clear with all of you. This is very important, many times asked. That is why I have given more stress on this. Of course, if it is coming as a question that you should be knowing this thing, Newton's second law is the main law. We call it main law because we can see that first law as well as the third law, they are contained in the second law. So by knowing, because second law, I have spoken to you earlier also, that if you talk about Newton's first law, that is a qualitative law. But if we talk about Newton's second law, this is quantitative law. And when we talk about the physics, we say it is a quantitative physics. So physics is a quantitative subject. It means whatever we speak, we are able to measure that. So measurement is very, very important, and in 11th basically whatever experiments are there also make you to learn how to measure the things. So second law is basically a quantitative law. It is talking about the numbers. How much acceleration is getting produced we can find simply by second law. But acceleration will be produced if we are applying the force greater than that much is telling the first law. So that is simply qualitative, means giving you idea that it will happen, but how much it will happen, it is given by the Newton's second law. So it is a quantitative law. So for that you can always whenever you have to prove this, that Newton's second law is the main law, you can say that by using Newton's second law, we know that force it is equals to m into a. If m is the mass, a is the acceleration. Now if we say that no external force is applied, or force applied it is equals to 0, then what happens? Mass of the body is never 0. So mass is never 0, so it means acceleration will be 0, and acceleration is what? It means dv by dt is 0. So change in velocity is 0. It means body moving with uniform motion will keep on moving with uniform motion only, and a body at rest will remain at rest, which is actually defined by the first law. So you can write here the definition of the first law, statement of the first law, which is of course known to you. So when it comes, you have to write the complete statement of the first law, which I have already discussed with you. Similarly, if you want to say that third law is contained in the second law, then you have to say that for a system of two bodies, if I take a system consisting of two bodies, means one is A body and other is B body, then both are coming in contact. And for a system, if I say that no external force is applied again, then you can write that d by dt of PA, rate of change of momentum in the first body, plus rate of change of momentum in the second body, that is equals to 0. It means you can say that FAB it is plus FBA it is equals to 0, or you can say FAB it is equals to negative of FBA, which is the Newton's third law. So it means you can prove the first law as well as third law with the knowledge of second law, and that is the reason why we call Newton's second law as the main law. So you should be having this reason in your mind, and if required the derivation means the statements are already known to you. So you can simply compile the things by writing this second law, which is having two statements we have discussed. One, that F it is equals to rate of change of linear momentum, and second, that F it is equals to ma. These are the two methods of writing Newton's second law with you. So that much should be clear with you. This is again because we have discussed about the free body diagram. So if we talk about an apparent weight of a man, or apparent weight of any person in an elevator or a lift. Of course, not specially mentioned in your syllabus, but because we know the free body diagram, we should be able to write. And in your previous knowledge, you all are aware of what do we mean by apparent weight. Whenever, like we say that if we immerse a body in the liquid or in water, what happens? Its weight appears to decrease. That is not the actual weight. Actual weight is here in the air we are taking. Clear? But when, like in Archimedes principle, you have used this term apparent weight, that the weight is reducing when you are immersing the body in the water, means weight which appears to be. If I want to say apparent weight is the weight which appears to be. Clear? So it can be same as the actual weight, it can be different than the actual weight depending upon the conditions where we are keeping the body. And maybe if you have seen spring balance, you all have seen. So if you hang the body in that metal cylinder you hang, you are able to see the weight there, pointer moves. And if you release that spring balance, then pointer comes at 0. It means the body is not having the weight 0. But when you make the body to fall under the gravity, then pointer comes equals to 0. It means apparent weight becomes 0. That means we are saying weightlessness condition. That condition is weightlessness. It means it behaves like as if its weight is 0. So similar way we have to explain that what is happening to the apparent weight of a man when it is moving in a lift. Lift can move upward, can move in the downward direction, or if it is stationary. So these three cases you have to discuss, and of course we have this much knowledge in our mind that apparent weight is the weight which appears to be, and we have observed this thing that if I make a body hanging with the spring balance, I release that body, then pointer comes to 0, that is weightlessness. So apparent weight becomes equals to 0, not the actual weight. Actual weight will be there, of course, that we can measure if I hold the hanger of the spring balance. So again, the knowledge of the free body diagram is also there with you. If we are saying that the lift is moving in the upward direction, of course the person is standing here in the lift and weight of the body or weight of the person is acting in the downward direction, reaction force is acting in the upward direction. If the lift is moving in the upward direction, then it means R has to be greater than the weight which is acting in the downward direction. And by how much amount? By the amount of the force which will act in the upward direction. So if small m we are taking as the weight mass of the person, then I can write the equation that R minus mg it is equals to ma. Or on solving I can get that R it is equals to mg plus a. It means my R here will be giving me the value of apparent weight which is coming greater than the actual weight. Actual weight is what? That is mg. And R I am writing for the apparent weight. Similarly, if the lift is moving in the downward direction with acceleration a, it means mg has to be greater than r. So my equation will be mg minus r, which is equals to ma. Or I can write r, it is equals to mg minus a. It means reaction for your apparent force is less than the actual weight. Apparent weight is less than the actual weight if the lift is moving in the downward direction. And that is why you have a feeling when you move in the lift, you get this feeling when you are moving up like you are being carried, and when you are falling like you are released, and that because the apparent weight is less than the actual weight. But if the lift is stationary, or I can say acceleration is 0, it means change in velocity is 0, it means lift is moving with uniform velocity, then I can say that R has to be equals to mg. So apparent weight and the actual weight will become equal if the lift is stationary or it is moving with uniform velocity. So A has to be 0. So these are the different cases. Of course, you can keep it in your mind for the numerical purpose. not may not be asked directly, but can be used in the various forms, because free body diagrams should be known to you. Now, with the help of the knowledge of the second law and the third law, which was given by Newton, this is a very important law with you, which is the law of conservation of linear momentum. So this is very, very important from your examination point of view also, which states that if I am having an isolated system, for a given isolated system means for which external force on the system is zero. Now I can take the ball and the earth as a system. Ball is falling on the earth. That can be considered as a system. Whatever you can consider, any two bodies, more than two bodies in a system can be considered. And then what it states that if I'm having an isolated system, then total linear momentum for the system is conserved. This is the statement for the law of conservation of linear momentum. As I've said, very important for your examination point of view also, that for a given isolated system, total linear momentum is always conserved. This is the statement simply. Or you can write that if two or more bodies, they are acting upon one another, they are exerting the force, it means on each other, then the total momentum remains constant provided no external forces are acting on them. So this is the condition, that no external force should be acting on them, or I can say the system is isolated. Meaning is same if I write isolated system, or if I say that no external forces are acting on them. So it means F external, it is equals to 0. But using second law, I know force is rate of change of linear momentum. It means dp by dt is 0. So when derivative of any quantity is 0, then it means that quantity has to be constant. So I can write that linear momentum is constant, or I can say that momentum is conserved. So this is a very important definition with you for the law of conservation of linear momentum. So you can prove it with the help of the knowledge of the third law or with the help of second law, whatever way. If it is not stated in the question, then whatever method you can follow. Like here we are supposing that two bodies are there. One is bigger body A, mass m1, smaller body I am saying B, mass is m2. Initially they are moving with some velocities u1 and u2, and they come in contact with each other. For coming in contact with each other, of course u1 has to be greater than u2. That you can always keep it in your mind. And then when they are getting separated, they are moving with velocities v1 and v2. As it is shown in the diagram, our concern is here when they come in contact with each other, means they are colliding. Then what happens? Some force is exerted on A due to B. I am calling it as F12, and the force exerted on B due to A, I am calling it as F21. So F21, it means force acting on the second body. It is equals to M2A2. By using Newton's second law, you can write it. And acceleration is what? Change in the velocity. It means velocity, final velocity is v2, initial velocity was u2. So I can write it v2 minus u2 divided by t. So go ahead. Similarly, I can write force on the first body due to the second body also. I can write F12, which is given by m1a1, and I can write it as m1 v1 minus u1 divided by t. And because by third law I know F21 it is equals to negative of F12, so I can put the values of F12 and F21. If I put the values here, you can see what I am getting is simply by cancelling t on both the sides, I can rewrite the equation that m2 into v2 minus u2, it is equals to m1 into v1 minus u1. or on rearranging I am getting m1 v1 plus m2 v2, it is equals to m1 u1 plus m2 u2. So of course m1 u1 is the initial momentum for the first body, m2 u2 is the initial momentum for the second body. Similarly, m1 v1 is the final momentum of the first body and m2 v2 is the final momentum of second body. So you can say that final momentum, it is equals to initial momentum, or you can say total momentum after the collision, it is equals to total momentum before the conclusion. And for that we have taken help of both the laws, your second law as well as the first. So this is one way of proving conservation of linear momentum, which says that total momentum before the collision is equals to total momentum after the collision. Same thing, if you wish, you can simply write by writing this way also. You can write that if you don't want to write the value of acceleration, then you can do it by the first statement of the second law, that is force it is equals to change in linear momentum, and or by the impulse momentum theorem you can write that FAB into delta t, it is equals to PA dash minus PA. Of course, here we are calling the velocities initially VA, VB, and finally we are calling VA dash, VB dash. Whatever method you feel comfortable, you can go. Both the methods are correct. And in this, if you go by this method, you are getting the result into only 2 steps. So if you are talking about the collision when the forces are being exerted, FAB and FBA are the forces, you can write by using the second law in terms of PA dash minus PA and FBA delta T, it is equals to PB dash minus PB. But you know FAB it is equals to minus FBA. So you can equate these two, or you can say PA dash plus PB dash is equals to PA plus PB. It means final momentum, it is equals to initial momentum. So this is basically, you have to say that final momentum it is equals to initial momentum if the external force acting on the system is 0, or I can say the system is isolated, then only. But we need not go into detail of whether the collision is elastic or inelastic, which we will be discussing. That collisions can be of different type, but here linear momentum is always conserved, whatever type of collision there it may be. That you have to always keep it in your mind. And of course, the thing is that momentum is a vector quantity. So the knowledge of vectors is very important for you people, that you need to understand. So this was to prove that the conservation of linear momentum. I think both the methods are okay with you all. Whatever you feel comfortable, you can write in that way. Any one method you can write. There are applications on the basis of conservation of linear momentum. You can say that when a man is jumping out of a boat or to the shore, then boat slightly moves away from the shore just to keep the linear momentum conserved. Similarly, rockets and jet planes, they are also working on the principle of conservation of linear momentum. Very important is whenever a bomb is exploding, the linear momentum before the explosion, it is equals to after the explosion, simply by the conservation of linear momentum. So I can write Pi, it is equals to Pf, and if a body system is consisting of two bodies, then simply initially if the momentum is 0, then final momentum can be written as m1 v1 plus m2 v2. But if a system is consisting of three bodies, then you have to write that 0 is the initial momentum, then final momentum it is equals to m1 v1 plus m2 v2 plus m3 v3. So you need to take care that how many particles are there, or system, how many bodies are there, that you need to keep understand the thing. And on that, this is a very simple question with you, because you have to basically understand the vector thing is there. So you cannot add or subtract by simple methods of algebra. So the question I have taken on the explosion of the bomb only. a body of mass 1 kilogram, this is here, a body of mass 1 kilogram is initially at rest, explodes. It means it is exploding and breaking into the three fragments of masses 1 is to 1 is to 3. These are the three ratios. For M1, M2 and M3 are the three masses which are coming from the explosion of this 1 kilogram body. The two pieces of equal mass fly off perpendicular to each other. I have drawn the diagram by reading the question only. So V1 and V2, they should be at 90-degree angle according to the question, perpendicular to each other, and speeds are given 30 meter per second each. It means V1 and V2 magnitudes are same, and that is 30 meter per second. You have to find the velocity of the heavier fragment. It means the mass whose mass is 3 times these masses 1 and 2. So I have been given with that if I add all these three masses M1, M2 and M3, the total mass is 1 kilogram. But these three are in the ratio of 1 is to 1 is to 3. So I am supposing that the common factor is A times. So I am writing 1A plus 1A plus 3A. That means 5A is equals to 1 kilogram. By simply reading the question, I am getting A equals to 1 by 5 kilogram. So it means M1 has to be equals to 1 by 5 kilogram, means I can write 0.2 kg. Similarly, M2 is same ratio. So 1 by 5 kilogram, 0.2 kg. But M3 is 3 times of A. So it means 3 by 5 kg. So it has to be 0.6 kilogram. So I can find the masses of these three fragments by simply having the knowledge of the ratio and the total mass of the body given in the question. V1 and V2 are given. V3 is to be calculated as per the question. So you have to apply the conservation of linear momentum. It means Pi it is equals to Pf. Or you can do it by simply having the knowledge of the component, that the momentum in this direction minus x direction should be equals to momentum in this plus x direction. So I will be taking its component because they both are moving perpendicular and both are having same masses. So of course the angle from this line will also be same. So 45 degree each angle will be there. So I can write the momentum along the x-axis. V cos 45 will be the component of the velocity along the x-axis. Similarly, V2 cos 45 again here. So you can write the equation along the x-axis by using the conservation of linear momentum. That says M1 V1 plus M2 V2 plus M3 V3 equals to 0. But M1 V1 is in this direction, M2 V2 is also in this direction, this is in the opposite direction. So negative sign, it will become positive on the other side of this. And you can put the values. Cos 45 is 1 by root 2. So value of M1 and M2 are same, 0.2. V1 and V2 are also same, that is 30 meter per second. So I have written it out. And I can work out with the things to get the value of the velocity, which is coming out to be 14.14 meter per second. So this is basically to make you clear that whenever the momentum question is asked, you have to keep in mind that it is a vector quantity. So you should be adding by the method of vectors only. So the knowledge of vector addition, resolution should be there, clear in your mind for all the chapters that is required. So one application is there with you, that is recoiling of gun, which is again can be explained on the basis of the conservation of linear momentum. That is, if initially before shooting, it means the system gun and the bullet, they are at rest. So initially the momentum is 0, and when you fire the bullet, then bullet is moving with some velocity in the right direction, then the gun will move in the backward direction with some velocity. And that is why conceptual question can be asked that why the gun should be holded firmly with the shoulder. If you are having a heavy gun with you, then it jerk you may get, which can harm you if you are not holding it firmly. So that is the conceptual question, and mathematically or in the numerical form, if it is asked, then you should be able to suppose the velocities and the masses. As I have taken mass of the bullet small m, velocity v, mass of the gun capital M, velocity capital V. So velocity with which the gun will recoil is capital V, can be given by simply negative of mv small v of this divided by capital M. Simply by using the concept of conservation of linear momentum, that momentum before firing has to be equals to momentum after firing. And before firing, because both the bodies are at rest, so momentum will be 0. And here you can write the momentum for both the bodies, bullet as well as gun, and then you can find the velocity with which the gun will recoil. Recoil means simply moving in the backward direction. So negative sign is further to confirm that. So this was all about the applications of conservation of linear momentum. Thank you everyone.